Welcome to Live from My Drum Room and a special re-release of my epic 2.5-hour show from March 2026 with legendary former Pearl Jam drummer Dave ABBRUZZESE. I originally released this in 2 parts and discovered the live recording had some audio dropouts and some other glitches. But fortunately, my editing and post-production guru, Ricardo the Magnificent, was able to clean up and enhance the audio. So I felt it was worthy of re-releasing it in its entire 2.5-hour format. So make sure your earpods are fully charged for this one. We cover a wide range of topics, and Dave bears his soul about his dismissal from Pearl Jam and opens up about personal struggles he's never before shared with the public. I'm deeply grateful for Dave's generosity and honesty. One final footnote. When I streamed the show live, we had close to 15,000 people watching around the world, which proves one thing. 32 years after leaving Pearl Jam, Dave can still draw an arena-sized audience. So come along for the ride with Dave ABBRUZZESE. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Yeah, finally.
Hooray for me.
But I mean,
Yeah, man, it's about time. But did you say my last name? ABBRUZZESE.
ABBRUZZESE. Yeah. It's so good to see you, buddy. Thank you for being here.
Man. Complete treat. Complete treat. You know, I've watched so many of your shows, and man, I just got to tell you before we get started how much I value what you're doing. You know, I mean, to get to sit and listen to Ainsley Dunbar or and Sonny Emery or you know, all these legends, you know, just sit and have chats and so many times I've chimed in during your podcast and then come back around and I, you know, Sonny sends me a message on Facebook Messenger, you know, we reconnect and, you know, it's just so cool.
Well, Dave, I don't know what to say because I remember from the first time I started doing these, like when we were all in lockdown, you know, and we were all just stuck. And I remember seeing you putting up a comment and saying, man, this is so great. I'm so enjoying this. And I'm going, holy shit, is that really him? But I knew we were connected on Facebook, and I realized it really was you. And you've been such a supporter and such a cheerleader for 6 years now, since 2020. And I thank you, brother. I so appreciate it.
On anything, you know, but you know, I can't help it. It's like, you know, it's like a free opportunity to be inspired, you know, and every single time, there's always something that makes me go, aha, that's why I love what I do. So it's cool, man. Hopefully we can do the same for anybody who's watching today, you know.
I know we will. I know there's so many people excited about having you. Besides me, there are so many people excited to have you here. And I just want to say one more thing too. You know, not admittedly not knowing you well, but knowing what I know about you from our mutual friends. What I always dug about you is that you still you were in this band that was the biggest band in the world and like superstardom, but you were still like this. I don't want to say geeky drummer, but you were still like a curious drummer. Like you never lost your drumming roots of like, man, I want to get a great, yeah, you know, like.
I mean, you know, it's that thing where, you know, all those years of playing, you know, and there's one big difference between drumming and every other instrument that I've found in playing other instruments. You know, I remember rephrase that. There's one big difference I used to think of, which was that, you know, there was so much pain involved with expressing ourselves, you know, those gigs that were 100 million degrees and the lights were on top of your head and your hands were red, on blisters and all that stuff. But, you know, I realized before I said it that when I play other instruments, I play them just as hard. So maybe, you know. Because I hurt myself on guitar too, man.
Well, I get that, man. You're watching you play and hearing you play. It's beyond the physical. It's the passion that's like inside of you that's coming out, man. And then you transfer that to the physical aspect of hitting the shit out of the drums, which is,
Yeah, man.
it inspired. But,
one thing I've learned, John, in the last few years, I mean, I've been doing so many sessions, and as I've gotten older, almost 60 years old now, I've learned how to actually play with passion and dynamic, which, I mean, I used to feel like, I always thought I was playing with dynamics, and then somebody would show me footage, and you're like, Jesus, man, I didn't know I was swinging for the fences on a song that was so, mellow, but getting more and more of a studio tan, I've learned more, how to control the sound of my drums and without hindering the emotions of being behind the kit, which has been a huge new thing. It's been great. Like I just tracked this song, I guess it was yesterday. And, I listened to it. It's like, wow, it's so slamming, but I didn't even break a sweat.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like, oh shit, it's changed. It used to be that I would play so hard that I had to then find the sound in my drums because I was crushing them. I was crushing the sound out of them.
Yeah.
And now, wow, playing not necessarily lighter because I'm still using baseball bats and all, but not swinging for the floor as much. I'm actually hearing tones out of my drums that are just mind-boggling, So yeah, it's great.
That's great, man. That's such a great lesson. But I got to say, in your defense, you joined the band when you were 23, right? You joined. I mean, who at that age? I mean, everybody. When I was 23, I like to think I was swinging for the fence. You know what I mean? Like that's what that gig required. But you know what? When I hear you on record, I hear dynamics. I definitely hear. I hear a lot of skill for a young drummer, and your ideas and what you were doing and what you were going for. And and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but let's just like kind of jump backwards a little bit, because you hit me to a tune you played on that I wasn't aware of before Pearl Jam, Course of Empire.
Actually, I wanted to bring this one out because first of all, the guys, the backstory, Chad Level, this incredible drummer who kind of hopped over each other in high school and stuff. He had an accident, he fell down, hit his head, and he's been rendered pretty much incapacitated for a number of years. Really bad accident. And, my heart goes out to him. He's an amazing guy, and it's a big loss to the Dallas music community that he can't participate. He's still kicking and he's still fighting, which is great. But these guys called me up. Dad had left the band, and David Castell, a producer who will also be involved in some other stuff that we talk about, he called me up and asked me if I was available. He used to work, Matt Chamberlain used to do his sessions, and then Matt went off with Edie Brickell and the New Bows, and so Dave would call me up. And so he called and asked if I wanted to do this session, and I was like, sure. I was gung-ho, I was young, and I'd never been involved with, it's the first song that I played on that ended up on a record, and it was the first time I played to a click track, and it was the first time that I went into a studio setting, someone else's drums, and had, put on that spot of like, this is next level. You can't come in and just kind of wing it. It's like, somebody's spending money. It's not your money, and you got to nail it. And so all those things, and Castell, great guy, great producer. We had worked together recording other stuff, but this was my first big time, like this is the song we're playing it for it's going on a record, and and so it was my first opportunity to understand that part of how when you go into the studio and record music, it defines that time period forever and ever and ever, and so it was really exciting, and I was having to pull back my excitement, to play to the click, and the push and pull of how a guitar player is driving and the bass player's on the back, and it was like all those things. It was such a good experience, and so I'm really proud of the track, And,
you should be. You should be. I'm going to play it in a second, and I got to just say, I have a little history with this band because I when I was with Zildjian, we dealt with Chad, and
oh wow,
and I'm trying to think of the other drummer that Michael Jerome was. There was another. Yeah. And this
Michael
band, yeah,
Anthony Headley was involved as well, and Kyle. God, man, they had quite a few guys that came in and out. But yeah, it was Anthony Headley, Mike Graff, Paul Themrad, Chad Lovell, and Michael Jerome. There, that was the core.
Yeah. And you have a part of this band's history, man, which is great because this is a band I feel like really didn't get the sort of love that it deserved, you know, kind of. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's play this tune. Let's play.
Some of the best live gigs I've ever been a part of too, which is saying a lot. You know, they were great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Daily hands in the 50-gallon drums in the audience and passed out drumsticks, and everybody, if you wanted to break stuff, go ahead. And people did. It was awesome.
I love it. Well, let's play this tune. What do you say, Dave? We'll play. This is God's Jig, and this is the first record, the Course of Empire's first record, right? Looks like it. Yeah. All right, here we go. And of course, Dave ABBRUZZESE on drums. Yeah. Take a bow. Take a bow, buddy. Man.
And it always amazes me how much I remember every single nuance of every single part. And that one was so trippy for me because I was, it was like there was already a part to the song, the song was already written. So I had kind of these guidelines to follow. But I still remember like, I remember on the bass drum stomp part, I remember, Mike Graff was pushing, and I remember trying to pull him back, and I remember that mathematical calculation of the click tracks getting away from us, and I got it, and trying to catch back up and pull it back in without it speeding us slowing down in the next part, and all that. I remember the way the room smelled, pretty
That's
awesome.
masterful. And you must have been about 20, 21 when you recorded that, right?
I guess it was 89, maybe 19, 20, 21, something like that.
Yeah. First time playing to a click, first time in a studio, like, shit, man. Yeah. That's like, yeah.
Well,
that's
actually SMU. They had a big sound stage for their video and arts department, and we used that room. So it was like this, and Dave Castell had a Mitsubishi mobile truck, and it was awesome. Yeah. And it was pre-digital, so it was really cool,
Yeah.
I love
when records sounded like records, Yeah, absolutely. So,
I do love recording the digital too. I love sitting down and letting my freak, just reacting to the song and then going in the control room and sitting in front of the computer and having 4 takes of reckless abandon to then edit into, it's a whole different animal than creating in a band setting, but I love them both equally. So.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And I understand that, that is how you record now. So, you got to embrace that and go with it. But just to talk about that. So you were living in Texas at the time, and did you, and I kind of skipped ahead a little bit. Did you take lessons as a young drummer? Did you have like formal lessons, or you self-taught, or?
No, there was a guy named Reagan Robbins. He was a triton player at Mesquite High School. And I saw, when I was in 7th grade, I saw a picture of Mesquite High School. And he was standing there with it was like the drum line. And, of course, I was the page I looked at. He was standing there with his hat, with the thing and the triton. And I was like, man, that guy is cool. And years later, I'm walking to and from middle school, carrying a contrabass and the blue Muller, or was it Muller Musser percussion case, with the pad and little xylophone and shit in it. And I'm having to carry that to and from school every day. And one of my, I had 3 stopping points, and one of them was Winslow's upholstery shop. And I'm standing there one day, and I had talked Mr. Winslow into letting me swoop up, if I make a few bucks while I was, resting my shoulder and back from carrying this full-size contrabass thing to and from school. And one day there was a ranchero, and there were cases in the back, and on the cases was sprayed the name Reagan Robbins. And this is a guy that I had been talking to, every day for a couple months. And I was like, you're that guy. And they were his drum case. And he had a gig that night, and he invited me along to be his drum tech. And it was at a VFW, and it was a country band. They were playing like ZZ Top and stuff. And that was really, he was like my first formal lessons guy, because the lessons he was giving me were more about life and music, and you should check this out. You should check this out. And then he let me get up, and at 12, 13 years old, I was playing LaGrange, in front of the VFW crowd. So those real life lessons. And there was Terry Parker, another guy who, lived down the street, and he taught me how to play my Sharona, that kind of thing. Yeah. But for the most part, it all started with a flip top record player and Birthday by the Beatles.
Yeah,
and
man.
For some reason, I always had this ability to visualize drummers, and maybe it was from watching Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa and those guys, and Louis Belson and Ed Shaughnessy, seeing him on the Tonight Show, getting to see them play, it became a thing where I could put on headphones and close my eyes and see the drummer playing. And so I could emulate that. And it just slowly turned into, all of a sudden there were drums in front of me. And I was like, wow, I'm doing this. I got this,
Yeah.
It was, because in junior high school, the teacher, she was a flautist, and she really didn't, she was like, drums, schmums, whatever, do whatever you want, which was a blessing and a curse, because I would just sit back there and make shit up, whatever it was, But, so I wasn't spending my time working with the Mel Bay book or any of these things. And I kind of wish I had, but I mean, I'm not going to complain, it worked out. So
it all worked out just fine, Dave. Just fine. Yeah.
It was mostly long hits and Bonham is what I used to say, Yeah.
I say this, I definitely heard some Bonham influence, but I would never imply that you were, what I loved about that tune was like what you were playing, the bass drum pattern you were playing. And I know the song, there was probably a drum part that you sort of adhered to, but
based on Chad's part, and Chad was a great lover of all things Kurt and Bonham as well. So
yeah, it was great.
Who of us wasn't,
Yeah, exactly. Well, a couple of quick comments from people watching. Our old friend Pat Brown, formerly of ProMark, says hello, and he's watching.
Hello.
Yeah, Pat's an old friend, great guy, and hi to Pat. And also,
Pat saved my wrists.
Oh,
Pat ProMark put in the effort. Easton put in a big effort developing sticks and balancing them right and try to release the shot, because I was going through so much trauma. And Pat and ProMark said, no, we won't have that.
Of course he did.
And they put in the effort and kept me on wood. And I mean, bless his heart, and Herb and all of them, they were just, but Pat especially, I mean, terrific. It was just like, no, you're a drummer. You need drumsticks. Come on, let's go. So they did. And we tried this part longer, that part longer, this. And then one day it was just like, wow, these are them. And
that's great.
I'm eternally grateful to Pat and ProMark Bullet. Very special.
Good job, Pat. Yeah. Well, I have to read another comment from a really good dear friend of mine, Bill Gibson, who's the drummer for Huey Lewis and the News. And Bill said to me, ask Dave if he introduced himself to me in the early 90s. Whoever it was, he said he was Pearl Jam's drummer. So I don't know if you saw Huey Lewis somewhere and introduced yourself to their drummer.
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they did a lot of work at the site, the same place we recorded Verses.
It's
in
possible.
San Rafael. It might have been around there somewhere, because I do recall, but that time's kind of a blur. I remember everything behind the kit, but everything else around it was so special. And if I did run into him, it would have been a monumental moment, because I was a huge fan. What a solid drummer.
Yeah.
I remember those videos, just being glued to those videos. Any video that showed a drummer drumming with passion, like Liberty DeVito or Hiram or, Kunkel, any of those guys, man, I want to play I want to look that smooth behind the kit,
I know. You just named three guys that just epitomize that, effortless groove, make it look and sound so easy. Yeah.
Mr. Bowden as well. I mean, we've become friends, and oh my God, his work back then, it was just that grin on his face. He loved what he was doing, and I just remember those drummers were the ones that I saw him play, and it was like everything about the style, the pleasure, the passion, their kits, all of it was just like, man, I want that. I want to be.
Yeah. I love it. I love that you had that, that kind of same spark that all of us had as young drummers, and then, when you were elevated to this point in this band that was just, I keep saying it, but I mean, all of us who were around during that time remember how gigantic you guys were. And I'm going to get to the one time that I remember meeting you in person and having a brief conversation, you were just like just such a down to earth drummer guy. You know, you weren't like putting on this vibe of like, well, man, you know, I don't know what size snare drum, I don't know what size sticks I use, man. My tech takes care of that. You know, I mean, there was none of that bullshit. It was, you know, none of that.
I didn't have time for that. You know, it was like we were working so hard, and it was the way I was raised. You know, it was like there's an opportunity to just be myself, and the only way I was going to survive it was to do it honestly. Yeah. And I also knew, you know, that there's an ebb and flow to this sort of stuff. And, you know, the only way I could deal with it was just be honest with it, you know, emotionally honest with it, open, whatever. But the biggest thing to me was to never put stuff on other people, just to take it in and enjoy the exchanges and the moments. And I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah.
You know, it's still.
Yeah, I know. I can see that. I can see that you're so positive. I mean, I love that about you. But I want to talk about Matt Chamberlain, who I texted the other night, by the way. He said to say hello to you. I said, I'm finally having Dave, because I've had Matt on, you know, a while back. And I said, I'm finally having Dave on. And he said, oh, I guess he's rehearsing with Paul Simon right now in New York, Matt Chamberlain. But he said to say hello to you. But so fast forward to 1991, and you're living in Dallas or Texas, outside of Dallas.
Yeah, I was in Dallas, actually. Yeah.
In Dallas, and you get a call from Matt saying there's a band looking for a drummer.
Well, it's interesting, you know, and there's so much history after as well. I mean, a band that Matt was playing with, 10 Hands, they're the guys that another song you're going to play from Green Romance Orchestra. That's my band in that group.
Yeah. Yep.
Was Matt's band. Edie Brickell.
Okay.
Yeah, one of them. I mean, that band and Mike Dillon. You know, the unbelievable, incomparable Mike Dillon was part of 10 Hands also with Matt Chamberlain and then Earl Harvin, and then Mike went on to do amazing things at Dickie Jones, all this other stuff, and I produced his band Harry H. Butt Movie Experience, which was just such a treat for me. But yeah, so I was in Dallas. I played a gig with my band Dr. Tongue, and it was a place called the Main Bar. And Mike Dillon and Matt wandered in, and Matt had gotten the offer to play on Saturday Night Live with G. Smith, and he had done like this 2.5-week long Pearl Jam showcase tour. And he was like, you know, doing the Saturday Night Live gig was more in line with what his career goals were than jumping in a van and was heavily in debt and had no promise of anything, which is what Pearl Jam was at the time. And so they were sitting there talking about, you know, Matt was like, I need to find somebody to recommend to these guys when I tell them I want to go do this other thing. And Mike said, you know, we were playing, and Mike said, well, what about Dave? And Matt was like, huh. So on the way home from that gig, I had a ranchero, and I hit a bump going through a green light, and my snare drum, this Rogers Dynasonic or whatever, it bounced right out of the back. I mean, it bounced out of the back, and you know, I slammed on my brakes, and the snare went skidding past me, and I was like, "Oh no, oh no, oh man!" I just need to breathe, to get gas and eat breakfast. You know, how am I going to fix the snare? I was bummed out, and I got home, and it was the first time I unloaded my drums and I stacked them up like a Christmas tree in the corner of the dining room, instead of setting them up in the sand floor garage where the band practiced, you know. And I just kind of thought maybe that was it. You know, maybe I've gone as far as I can with this. Wow. You know, I don't know how I'm going to fix snare, you know, and this and that. My parents are lawyers. I don't know how, you know, how do you get in this business? I've been at it for, you know, my whole life. And so I thought, I don't know. The next day I get up and my phone was being turned off. So, I mean, literally, I'll be honest. I sold my last joint. I sold my bicycle, dug through the couch and came up with $1.25. had enough money to go walk down the street and pay my phone bill. So I walk down the street, I'm coming back, and I'm like, I don't even have my last joint anymore. My bike's gone. My drummer, that goes miserable. So I'm coming up the steps and I hear my phone ringing. It's like, oh, good, at least my phone's on. So I went inside, answered it, and it was Matt. It was Matt saying, hey, you want to check out this gig? And I was like, okay, well. So that night I had a radio show. Chris Diamante and I had Chris and Dave's Music We Like show. People would call in and ask us to play music. If we liked it, we'd play it. If we didn't, we wouldn't. And, I went in and Chris and I dug up, all this like Green River and Mother Love Bone, and it was just like, yeah. Like, on the air going, ooh, no, that's not for me. I was looking at Sly Stone and Zappa, and I mean, I was more in that vein of things, and Chris said, well, have you ever been to Seattle? And I was like, no. He said, well, free trip to Seattle. I'm like, yeah, you're right. So that's kind of how that came about. And I got to meet the guys, and I listened to it, and I was just like, man, I am not feeling it. I didn't get through any of the songs. I was like, I don't know, if this is something I should even mess with. So I called the management office and talked to Eddie and Jeff. And my question was, do you guys want me to learn this music as it sits? And if they were to say yes, I was going to tell them that I wasn't the right guy for that's just about that. And they said, no, just come up and we'll just jam. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And that's what we did, and it just worked. They let me take the songs, because I only had notions of the songs. I never sat and wrote down or memorized, or I just had notions of them. So in the course of a week, we jammed a lot, and then we played a few songs here and there, and it just felt good, and then it was a couple of weeks later that we had our first gig. So you came in there and they pretty much said to you, you have the gig if you want it. Once you played with the band and jammed, not really. We were there for a week, and I was supposed to leave on Saturday, and on Thursday I asked Eddie, I said, so, I'd spend a day with each guy in the band, and then, it was like before rehearsal, we'd meet up and have coffee or go for a walk, whatever each person's trip was. I'd be a part of the trip. And on Thursday, I asked Eddie, I said, so when I leave here on Saturday, am I going to know if I have the gig? And Eddie said, I think there's a couple of the guys we're going to check out. And so I went back to the hotel and called my girlfriend and said, yeah, I'm going to head out tomorrow, because I didn't want the gig if somebody else didn't get it. I didn't want to be that guy. Yeah. So the next morning I woke up on Friday and I called the management office to tell them I wanted to change my ticket. And Kelly answered the phone, told me to hold on, band's manager. And then he got back on the phone and said, how long is it going to take you to go to Texas to get your kit? And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So it was like that, But it did lay this dynamic that I was never really Eddie's first choice, Yeah. It did lay that dynamic. It kind of hung out, But maybe it was interesting. Yeah. Do you think, Dave, maybe that it almost like, I don't know Eddie, but maybe he just needed a little push. Like maybe it was you making that call and saying, well, listen, man, No, I wasn't Eddie's. No, I wasn't. Eddie, as anti this and anti that as he appeared to be, he, to his credit, it was incredibly good at marketing himself. And, he worked to be successful very hard, Yeah. I mean, even, say, being on a magazine cover saying that, I don't want to be a magazine cover. That's part of it, I know. Yeah. So it was one of those things. He knew, and I, Krisha Ojiro, who was one of the people that worked at the management office. She was awesome. And she even said that when I walked in, it was more like, he seems like he should be with the Alice in Chains guys more than these Pearl Jam guys. And that's kind of how it was. Long hair, smoked cigarettes, all that stuff. And yeah, I was Jeff was vegan, and you know what I mean? It was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the friend with the vampire guys, I'd come into rehearsal and they would be like, wow, someone smells like yeet. Hey.
Man, but I have to think, I don't know that anybody, in that circle would ever, in hindsight, admit this or acknowledge this, but you added a dynamic, you know what I mean? The fact that you were a different kind of drummer, that's what, I mean, like your feel and, yeah, that's what
showed all the old videos and the old vibe too. I mean, definitely I was a drummer. See, and that was something I noticed when I got fired from the band. The question was why, and I was always like, I don't fucking know, and but then when I finally saw a video of them playing. I saw a video of actually Jack or Dave Cruzen playing with the band, or him playing with Candlebox, and I was like, huh. And then I watched how Jack was playing with Pearl Jam, and then I watched how Matt was playing with Pearl Jam, and I was like, aha, whether it was Eddie or what, it's hard for me to think it was Stone or Mike or whatever because of the chemistry he had on stage. But the difference was I pushed the band, It was like my energy behind the kit was very forceful. Whereas Dave Cruzen and Jack and Matt were just back there, I mean, Matt's incredible. I mean, Dave's incredible. Jack was a huge influence in my drumming growing up,
Sure. Yeah.
Because Matt with the Chili Peppers and 11 was his drive was insane. But with Pearl Jam, it wasn't, I noticed, one of the biggest things playing with Pearl Jam was the tension of Stone really pushed the beat and Jeff played way on the back of it.
Yeah.
And so there was a really cerebral thing that I had to pay attention to, which was, who to allow to have the basically like who gets the ball for this section of the song.
Exactly.
And so I would pay attention to that. And the way Stone moved, I would, when he would come up with an idea, the way his body moved when he was showing it to me, when I'd start playing, if his body changed, then I would change till I found out how to do something that kept him moving the same way he did when he just was him playing on his own. And so, I mean, there were it was the most cerebral approach to playing I'd ever experienced was playing with those guys because of the dynamic of who gets the ball,
Yeah.
I mean, who is it? It's still important to let Jeff have some of the verse movement, the way his feel was, but then to let Stone, his energy, take it into the bridge or whatever, which would lead into the chorus, which then I would take over, and all the intricate little splashes and basically the fills on the cymbals were there to color and drive and attach Stone's parts to Jeff's parts, and so it was intense. It was really, really, really cool. But all those things I learned from watching Matt and Mike drive 10 hands to the back window of Club Dada in Dallas. I mean, that was something. All these great North Texas drummers. I mean, and all these great Booker T. The Arts Magnet School. I mean, Ed Al Emmert, the great. His name's leaves in my head right now. Oh, Aaron Combs. I mean, these guys, monsters. And all came out of that thing, that same group of musicians. And I mean, cutting my teeth when I was underage outside of Club Dada, staring in the window that was behind the stage, getting to watch Matt and Mike and those guys play. It was like they were masters, Still
what a great education. Yeah. Man. Well, Dave, you just described that perfectly, because listening to these songs again, I hadn't really listened to these songs in a real deep sort of dive in a while. And the way you and Jeff play together, though, I mean, I guess I would never, listening to it, sense any sort of, I won't say tension, but I think you guys really naturally gelled. I mean, like, and whatever formula you came up with, because you can feel Jeff pulling it back a little bit, and you could sit back there with him, but you still were able to like drive the band. Like it never feels like it's dragging in any way. I mean, it still propels, you know?
It was interesting because like Verses was one thing because we rehearsed the ideas of the songs, and then we went in the studio and made them songs. And in that one, it was like when we were in the studio, I mean, a lot of that record was just me and a click track, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because those guys really play well to a click track. We tried it once, and Stone ended like, 3 beats ahead of me, and and Jeff and Mike were like a beat and a half behind me. So most of that record, that when we used click tracks, it was just me and the click track with just a touch of those guys in there. And when I would play, it'd be like, okay, I played a song, and then those guys would fix and tighten up their parts, Whereas on Vitalogy, it was more, we were creating these things on stage at sound checks, and then we'd go into a studio and just go for it, And so there wasn't as much time, with Verses. I was taking that tapes home and studying how could I bridge these gaps, and how could I make this song not sound like this other song, all those sorts of things. Yeah. Whereas with Vitalogy, it was the different energy that was coming from being in different phases of the tour that we were taking into the studio with just ideas like songs like Tremor Christ. It was damn near a one and done song. Stone played this riff. We played for a second and it was like, wow, that's cool. And then he started over, and that's the track. What I played to is the track on the record, So it was like, things were happening a lot different on Vitalogy than on Verses.
On Verses. Really cool. And talking about that a little bit, was a lot of that like, is that how Brendan O'Brien liked to work? Did he like to use a click track? And was he, well, I guess my question, because he's such a legendary producer, and I've never actually talked to somebody who's worked with him, but like, did he offer input to you on things as far as playing? Okay, it sounds like you have a great story.
He played me like a fiddle. Brendan, wow. I mean, what a champ. He unbelievable. First of all, the sounds he got to tape were pretty much the sound of the record, which is incredible. We would finish a song. I would finish a drum track at, start at 10:30. My drum track would be done at noon, 1 o'clock. And then after dinner, we'd listen to the mix. I mean, that's
how quick he worked.
He was incredible, but he was really great at, and I've never gotten to sit down as a more mature adult and say, hey, I want to know. But like, for example, on Rearview Mirror, I got up, I was battling, all these, blown out tendons and all this shit. And it's 10 in the morning, and, some songs like Daughter, the difference between the album version and the live version was what I wanted on the record, but it was too much. There was too much going on. So we would, he would say something like, why don't you try your Ludwig, that badass 26-inch kick drum. We'll put you in the tile room and just set up what you need. So next thing you know, I'm in the tile room with a 26-inch kit, a snare drum, 1 floor tom, a ride, 2 crashes, a splash, and this not 13 cymbals, and the whole thing.
Yeah.
And a couple of the songs were done that way. Rearview Mirror was one of them, where it was just me in this big tile room with my old Ludwig kit, stripped way down, a floor tom, snare drum, 2 cymbals, a ride, no China, no, just small setup. And and zone mics, so it was just slamming, and a click track. So I'm in there and we play the song through, and at this point it's like I sit down, I give it my all at the get-go, because I knew I didn't have a whole lot to give. There was going to be a point where my hand said, fuck you, and I didn't want to record the record with a stick between index finger and middle finger, or take in the hand or be alive. So So we finished the first track, and the click track is still going. And it's so loud in my cans that every time it clicks, my ears concuss. Click, coom, you know? So it's pounding. So we hit the last note, boom. And I'm sitting there, and I'm waiting, you know, tape to stop, click track to stop, and Brendan to say, that was killer, you got it, or whatever. So I'm sitting there, and I'm breathing heavy, and the click track's still going. And I'm like, And he doesn't cut off the click track. He just cuts in and he says, yeah, Dave, let's take it again. Just give me a little more.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, give you a little more. I mean, you know, and he knew that I didn't hold back. He knew I was swinging for the fences, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean? You know, do you want more washy ride? So what, give you a little more? Would you push the click? What do you, I want specifics. But in the meantime, I've got this click track just pounding in my head.
Oh, man.
And he's not answering me. And I'm like leaning over in the snare. I'm like, turn the fucking click track off. Nothing's still going. And I said, so what do you mean? He said, just give me a little more. Okay. So we roll it again. And this time I've got a little bit of anger under me, and I am just boosh, boosh, boosh going nuts. And and so I'm giving him more, and I'm really beating the shit out of my drum set. And boom, last note, pow. And the end of that song is ferocious, you know. It's like it's like 16th notes on the kick drum and So we stop. And again, it's a 26-inch kicks. I've got an extended wooden beater, which is bashing my shin bone as well. And so boom, we stop. I've got torn blisters on blisters. And the click track is still pounding in my head. And yelling in the snare, I'm like, please turn the fucking click track. And so finally he clicks back on. He goes, hold on a second. And click track's still going. I'm just sitting there, just fuming. And he said, yeah, just one more time. Just give me a little more.
Oh my God.
Oh man. I had no idea I was losing my mind. So at this point, and I'm in the trial room, sweating my ass off. My hands are printing up from the blister juice. It was gnarly. So I played with hate in my heart, you know, not for Brent, just for just whatever. It was like every bit of anger, angst, you know, and don't forget I was a 24-year-old rock star at this point.
Yeah.
How dare someone wind me up like this? We're paying you, mister, you know. So anyway, I played my ass off, hit the last note of the song, and I knew I got it. I knew I got it the first time, but I hit the last note of the song, I punched a hole through my snare, hurled my stick, grabbed the snare off the stand, stormed out, threw it off a cliff, jumped in my car, and left. Jonathan Mover actually climbed down into the ravine at the site and retrieved that snare drum a couple months later. But that was my rock star versus record. But and he knew that he was getting what he wanted out of me by doing that.
Yeah.
And I didn't take it personally. But looking back on it, what a tantrum, but still, that was Brendan. That was the magic of Brendan. And I respected that so much. I mean, but also, and this is another thing I'd love to ask him, at dinner one night, he knew the next day we were taking on a song called Animal. And at dinner, he made the casual comment, I hate China cymbals. I've always hated them. So the next day, the morning when I got up, going into track Animal at 10 in the morning, I woke up in my room above the garage, went into the studio, and I swapped out every crash cymbal for a China cymbal. So the song's name, my kid has an 8 China cymbals on it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But I've never gotten to ask him because I didn't think about these things until later. Hindsight is 2020. But did he want me to do that, or was I really that big of an asshole?
Yeah. He didn't know who he was fooling with, man.
Well, or he did, or he knew exactly who he was fooling with. Played me like a fiddle.
Exactly.
But the coolest about that record was, I mean, that record was so natural, and the emotions that I felt when I woke up in the morning, went to bed at night, are the emotions in the music. I hear them when I listen to an album.
Yeah.
And really pleased about that. But songs like Elderly Woman, The Small Town, or whatever it's called, I'd come back from Seattle, took a weekend off, came in, and Eddie was listening back to, it was an acoustic guitar and a vocal. And I came in when it was halfway over, stood in the back of the control room and listened. And I kind of sheepishly said, mind if I have a go at that? And Eddie was like, yeah, go ahead. So I went in, and 2 passes later, that's the track. It's on the record, no click track or anything. I just played what I felt,
Yeah.
But that, to me, I mean, that's how we were as a band, that I could sit down and play that song, just an acoustic guitar and a vocal, no click, already recorded, and sit down and lock into it and just play what I felt should be there. And the timing of the part, I mean, it's a flamboyantly busy cymbal part. I mean, it's, 6, 9 rolls all over the fucking place on the cymbals, but they if the timing would have been off a little, it wouldn't have worked at all. And the fact that I went in and, with the crappy AKG open back headphones on where you could barely hear anything, just sat down and played what I felt should be there. And when I listened back, it was the perfect thing. That's the part of Pearl Jam that I never understood why that band had to end in that formation,
Yeah.
It was incredible.
That's magical. Well, I know that wasn't one of the songs we talked about, but should I play a little bit of that? Elderly Woman Behind the Counter in a Small Town? Let's play a little bit. All right, here we go. And thanks for setting up that story. That's a great story. I would have never known that this was done without a click. So basically, you came in and overdubbed drums on top of what was already done.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, this is the second time I ever heard it. Is what we're listening to.
To recognize your face, haunting, familiar, yeah. I can't seem to place it. Cannot find the candle of thought to light your name. Lifetimes are catching up with me. All these changes take place. I wish I'd seen the place, but no one's ever taken me. Hearts and thoughts, they fade away. Hearts and thoughts, they fade away. I swear I recognize your breath. Memories like fingerprints are slowly erasing. Me who wouldn't recall, or I'm not my father. It's hard when you're stuck upon the shelf. I changed by not changing at all. Small town predicts my fate. Perhaps that's what no one wants to see. I just wanna scream hello. My God, it's been so long. Never dreamed you'd return, but now here you are, and here I am. fade away. Hearts and thoughts, they 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 fade away. Hearts and thoughts,
Wow. Dave, man.
Man, you know what? That last big ping on that is a 20-inch symphonic Zildjian that I swiped from junior high school.
Ooh. A Zildjian made it on a record. All right.
Oh man, no, that was my first. That was the symbol that I used throughout the first. Yeah, that's on the Even Flow single, the recorded single. That's on every State of Love and Trust, Breath and a Scream, Alone, all the single soundtrack. That's all this huge, really thick, symphonic Avitas Zildjian single that I snuck under my winter coat because the band I was in was doing a gig at Broadway Skateland, and I put it up in the only place that it could go, which was in front of the kick drum, and the kick drum crawled, and the cymbal fell off the stage and knocked the kid out. It was unbelievable. Yeah, that cymbal music for years and years. Every time I hear it go ping, it's like,
oh man. Man, I just gotta give you so much kudos for that tune, man. Your work on that was just so beautiful. Like, you just got so inside that tune. Like,
yeah, that was again, Brendan and the band and the music and just where I was at. I mean, we never discussed things. We just did them,
Yep.
And that lent itself to me having form to be as funky or as out or just to play what I felt should be there for the reasons that I had. They weren't reasons that the band discussed. They weren't the kind of, this is what we're looking for in a rhythm section or any of that stuff. I saw Brendan talking with Rick Beato, whatever his name is, and Brendan mentioned, and it was one of the biggest compliments I've ever gotten, which was that, Pearl Jam had a great engine, that I was really busy drummer. Somehow it worked, and that to me, it meant the world to me, to hear him say that. So.
I don't know, as a drummer, I don't think of you as busy, you know what I mean? I think of you as like playing what the songs need, and I think like playing splashes and fills and things, like, I don't know. I don't think of that like Carter Beauford. I've heard people say, "Oh, he's really busy." It's like, well, no, he plays like these parts that support the songs. Like that's the shit that drummers do.
It's a craftsmanship thing,
Yeah, exactly.
Their immortality, which was to me, the song itself, just it could have easily just laid there flat, and no fault of Jack or Matt or any, but when I hear that song played by them, all the nuances, the hi-hat open, the parts. I mean, to me, a hi-hat is such an integral part. Like, if you just skipping it a couple of times, there's a swing that comes in, and those little elements missing make it like the song. To me, it's like they're listening to a terrible cover band where it's like, the drummer's skills or their ability to hear and recognize or appreciate the nuance get kind of lost,
Yeah.
Yeah, those songs drove me nuts, to hear another drummer playing them, because to me, it's like, there were, everything that I did, everything, I knew why I did it,
Yeah.
And it's weird to hear those parts.
I understand. It's like they're like your kids. I get it, man. It's I get it. Well, so I got to jump backwards because you mentioned our friend the great Jack Irons. And I told this story when I was talking about, promoting the show. I went to see Jack with 11 when they were opening for you guys in early 1992. And I had heard of the band. I'd heard of Pearl Jam. I was familiar with you guys, but I mean, it was right when things were starting to happen. And my recollection, and I don't know if you probably won't remember it any better than me, Dave, because it was a long time ago, but it was I remember it was a small club called Axis on Lansdowne Street in Boston. It's right by Fenway Park. And I remember going in and I brought Jack some drumsticks or something. And it was like just mayhem, pandemonium. And he said, yeah, this band Pearl Jam, they're blowing up and, they're huge or whatever. And I wanted to meet you. And I think he said either you guys weren't there yet because they were supporting you guys, or you were on the bus or something. And it was like, I'll try to see if you can say hello to him after the show or something, which I never got to do. But I just remember that was my first kind of inkling of what was going to happen with you guys. And then I feel like it was like literally a couple of months later and you guys had so I gotta you've talked about this, I know, but what was that like for you to just go from paying your last $1.25 to pay your phone bill to being like in the big, like the only thing, okay, and I'll shut up after this, but the only thing I can remember in my history, like working in the business, was about 5 years or so before that when Guns N' Roses hit and they went from being like a Hollywood strip. I was living out in LA at the time and they were like, one of many bands on the strip, and then they just exploded. But you guys it was even bigger somehow when you guys did it. It was just because you created this movement with all these other bands. So
yeah, well, it was intense on there's so many levels to it, because on the one hand, I went from being just this drummer guy to being this successful drummer guy, but my relationship to the music and the people and my friends and none of that had changed. So it was more of a perceived notion of the changes that were happening. But we were working so hard, and to me, getting the parts right every night. I still maintain that I can probably count the number of mistakes I made on stage on both hands over all those years. It's like I took it was the philosophy of like Neil. Whenever I went and saw Rush play, he would do everything you expected of him. He would do, but he would do these little things when you didn't expect it that just were electric,
Yeah.
And so to me in the music, I had the room to play what was expected, especially after the Versus record, but then to add in other things too. And, but at the time when things were blowing up, I mean, we were only paying ourselves $400 a month, and we had sold millions of records. Wow. Because we didn't want to be in debt,
Yep.
When he took a break for our first break after a year and a half or more touring, we went in, we came up with the song ideas. We went to the site with Brendan. We did all that without permission because we paid for it, and we didn't have a record deal. We just had a handshake. We didn't sign a record deal till an album. So we decided, we weren't seeing, our bank accounts weren't getting huge. We were paying back the record company for all the money they spent on that first album, the Jeremy video and all that shit.
Yeah.
So, but we were playing so hard, and we weren't a party band. So it was like, day off, I was at the library. I was happy that we were, playing College Town, because I could go to the college library and, stuff like that, and discover the joys of coffee and
Yeah, man. Yeah. And college girls.
I didn't. I know that. I didn't do that. Plus, I mean, days off to me were a pain in the ass, because that's when I noticed how much my blisters hurt.
Yeah.
When I played every day, okay, whatever, the pain will motivate me. But a day off, I'd wake up and I'd had gotten enough sleep to be like, ow, damn it, this hurts. Oh. But plus back then it was so cool because writing letters, it wasn't email. So we were writing. People still they'll show me a letter that I wrote or a postcard that I sent, or, you know, and, you know, it was just a totally different time touring than people have now, and no phones up in the air. And
Yeah.
so it was really, being present was real easy. And so in that, you know, I remember there was a time where all of a sudden interviewer questions were like, how are you dealing with the pressure? And it was like, all of a sudden it was like, you know, the biggest pressure I felt was the pressure to answer that question about pressure. Like, I don't feel it. You know, all I know is my monitor system's getting huge and my drums sound like guns going off on the stage. I love it. And it's getting bigger and, you know, but, you know, it was, and also the band dynamic, you know, things were happening so fast that we were all getting tighter to deal with it. So, you know, there was so much personal growth and musical growth and experience that, you know, that was one level of it. Then there was the other, which was, you know, all of a sudden people wanting stuff, or like not being able to really relate to my friends back home, and envy and weird stuff that was coming, you know. So there was those levels of things. But, you know, luckily, you know, I mean, in the biggest way, my parents were fans of the band. So that kept me really grounded, because they were always interested in what we were doing. And, you know, they would come out whenever we were in town. They'd come out wearing matching Pearl Jam shirts. And
oh, man, that's awesome, man. Yeah.
It was really awesome. I mean, you know, walking my dad around the stage and remembering the first experience I had where, you know, I was telling him how things work and showing him this and that, and just, you know, introducing him to Kerry, our monitor engineer, and explaining the console and the mics and this, and he was looking at me like, what in the hell? And finally I said, what's going on? He just looked at me and he said, when the hell did you learn all this stuff? Oh, I said, Dad, what the fuck do you think I was doing in my room all those years, you know? So it was cool. It was like there were so many things going on that were based in reality that I didn't, you know, and the fact that we were technically a Strober band, you know, I mean, we weren't doing illicit drugs, you know, occasionally there'd be a joint or whatever, but it was like, there was too much work going on.
Yeah.
To be out of our head. We were very focused, and, you know, physically I was tearing myself up to the point where, you know, I mean, there was a point where it was after every show, I was 15 minutes laying down over a big drum of ice water with my arms hanging in it, so I couldn't stand it anymore, you know, and you know, just, yeah, it was intense. It was just intense, and it was a lot of work, but it wasn't what I always dreamed of, because there was a reality. It wasn't a dream anymore.
Yeah.
But you know, and like I mentioned earlier, being present and striving to enjoy every moment of it by being honest with myself about it and all that. I mean, I wish I had more social skills to be able to bridge the gap between the personalities of the band. But at the time, it was just hunkering down. There was a lot of hunkering down.
Yeah, man. And there's absolutely, and there's so much to take away from what you just said, Dave. Like, first of all, so important what you said, that people, I think many people understand this now in terms of how the business works, but probably not enough people realize how a band like you guys are out there playing like sold out shows in front of 20,000 people, but you're making $400 a month because you're paying back the record company for all the money they spent making the record and promoting it. And people think that, like, I know I used to talk to people who didn't have a clue, and they think that from day one, you're putting all this money in your pocket, right? I mean,
you sold a $50 CD, that meant the band got $15.
Yeah.
And they didn't realize that, you know, we made our deal on the 10 record, we made 88 cents after recoupment, you know, 88 cents per record. And that 88 cents went back towards paying off the $250,000 debt.
Yeah.
Before we even saw a dime of it.
Yeah.
And then when we did see our 88 cents per record, out of that came our insurance, legal, management, crew, blah, blah, blah. So we weren't seeing, we were getting, a dime a record. You know what I mean? It was like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was pretty, T-shirts bought the house. That's for sure.
Yeah. That exactly. Yeah. Thank God for merch, man. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, all those kinds of things are so important. And the work, like the fact that, I mean, it's a great job to have, no doubt about it, being a drummer, being a musician, but it's hard work, man. You're out there. And I got to think those couple of years of like when you joined the band in late 91, 92, 93, it's probably like a blur in many ways because it was just like nonstop working. You guys were nonstop.
Yeah. But it's a trip. I can hear it still. This blows my mind every time. If I hear a crowd come up on a stereo or on YouTube or whatever, I know if it's a Pearl Jam crowd. I just recognize it,
Wow.
So that stuff always blows my mind. Always.
Yeah.
Just always blows my mind.
And,
we have, without a doubt, we had the best audience. I mean, ever. They were. The Stones were.
I saw you play. The second time I saw you was at the Lollapalooza Festival in '92 at Great Woods outside of Boston. And I didn't get to meet you that day, but I met Chad Smith for the first time. I was with Joey Kramer of Aerosmith. And so, riding Joey's coattails, you sort of got to the front of the line usually. And I had pretty good cred with Zildjian, but Joey had we drove in backstage and parked there in his car. But I just remember like you guys by that time, that was like August of '92. And the Chili Peppers might have technically been the headliner on that possibly, but you guys you guys ruled, man. You guys were, and you, yeah.
We played for 45 fucking minutes at 2:00.
Yeah.
What a summer.
but you,
incredible.
Yeah. And that particular year, I remember I think Living Color was on the bill that year, and the Pumpkins. No, they weren't.
No, that year it was Lush, then Us, then Poor Jesus and Mary Chain, and then Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Then Soundgarden, then Ministry, and then Chili Peppers.
Chili Peppers. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was a great lineup. And I wanted.
We got along so well, man. We had such a great time.
I'll bet you did.
The drummers on that tour, incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
All great guys, Matt and Chad and everybody were.
Joe Ricklin with Ministry, which was. I mean, we had so many fun times, Yeah, and Chad's such a generous guy, and any new drummer that is just like, man, little monkey,
Exactly. Headlock. Yeah.
And then without getting to go out with the great Jim Keltner and Booker T and the MDs, Steve Cropper, Duck Gunn, Booker T and Neil, getting to, sit next to Jim. Jim would come over and he'd say, "Come here, man, my elbow's hurting. My elbow hurts." And he'd give me a fix. Come on. Come out, play my cymbal. My elbow hurts. It's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I love him, man. I love him. He is the Jedi Master. He really is. Gentleman Jim Keltner. Yeah. But, I made a note earlier, just something you said a few minutes ago. It was actually more than a few minutes ago when you were talking about, kind of, I forget the term you used, but it was perfect when you were talking about Jeff holding the, maybe playing a little behind the beat and Stone maybe playing a little in front of it. And I have to think you probably, it's almost like you weren't even aware. I'm guessing you probably developed like a muscle in your brain to compensate for that. And I just love to get your thoughts on that, like where you probably got to a point where you didn't even think about it. You just got into this mode of like, okay, I need to.
Interesting, because I was hyper aware of it, actually, I mean, and even in a live setting, I was aware of it by the way everyone moved. You know, Jeff had his own relationship to the rhythm of the music, and Stone had his. And Stone's
Yeah.
was always very staccato, and Jeff was always very fluid. And then Mike was just painting in between. You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
my job was to create the bottom with the solid bottom with Jeff that would support his fluidity. You know, he's a very fluid bass player, incredibly
Great bass
melodic
player.
and really, really fucking creative.
Yeah.
And then Stone, I mean, you know, Stone was incredibly demanding. He knew what he wanted out of music, you know, and I knew that when I looked over at Stone and he was just making a stink face and staring at me, it was like, okay. And if I looked over at Stone and he was like, I knew I was, you know, I mean, there was so much intense communication live,
Yeah.
you know, and it was strange because, I mean, as far as the band goes, I don't know if I ever even had Jeff's phone number, you know, I mean, as far as our communication on the bus or whatever, I mean, sure, me and Mike and Eric Johnson, our tour manager, and Stone, I mean, the laughter was incredible. But the conversations about the music and what we were doing and all these, what we were feeling, those things weren't happening. So it was on stage where we related and where our hearts touched.
Yep.
But when, you know, like our personal experiences with each other, Jeff and Stone had established their relationship in earlier bands. Mike just wove in and out. You know, he was just funny and Mike. And Eddie was, you know, just kind of disapproving. You know, and it was just, that was our dynamic, and it worked until I found out one day it didn't, you know. I was as surprised as anybody. Man,
I want to also, I made a note to talk about, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Dave, but you played at a PASIC, PAS convention, drum convention. No?
Nope. No, I did the Modern Drummer, the 1993 Modern Drummer Festival.
Okay,
that was my second clinic. I did Skips in Sacramento as a warm-up as to what it's going to feel like. I'd never talked into a microphone before. And then on my birthday weekend, turning 25, I was with Terry Bozzio, Louis Bellson, Ginger Baker. We died at the Modern Drummer Festival. And, they blew my mind. Not only they brought me out and they gave me the Modern Drummer Award of, you know, the up and coming whatever. And I was like, oh my God, you know, it just floored me. But then I turned around and realized I was supposed to now talk to 2,500 people and every best laid plan that I had. Yael and Jimmy stayed with me the night before, and I had all these grand plans. But as soon as I had this microphone in my hand, all right, let's just wing it, you know. And yeah, that was an awesome event. Really awesome.
I was there at that for sure, and that must have been where Chris Lombardi. I remember us being in the hotel, and Chris, you were hanging out with Chris Lombardi from Drum Workshop, who's a very dear old friend of mine, and he introduced us. Yeah, and I remember Chris said to me something like, I said, I'd love to meet him, you know, but I don't want. He's like, no, you should meet him. You should meet him. So we were introduced, and I remember you guys were playing cards up in your room, I think, right? In your hotel room. Does that sound right? Am I? Yeah.
That was about right.
Yeah. I feel like you came down and you were barefoot and you looked like, yeah. I said, I work. But you were so cool. You were just, you know, I was like this stranger, this guy who wanted to meet you. And, you know, I was kicking myself. I wish I had met you like a year or two earlier, and I could have said, hey, Dave, how about playing some Zildjian cymbals? But at the time, I just remember you being this really chill, not what I expected, just like, and not that I expected you not to be, but you were just this very approachable, really kind. You could feel a really kind vibe coming from you, like the fact that all these people wanted to say hello to you, and you felt very I remember you seemed really humbled to be there, and that was really cool.
Yeah, I was blown away to be there. And, you know, I played Zildjian and Pacey cymbals until I had a budget. All of a sudden, a few days before we went on tour, they said, "Oh, Dave, you go to the American Music and pick out the cymbals." I'm like, "What?" So I went there. The only cymbals they had that I could get 11 of were Sabians. I ended up with 3 19-inch crashes, 2 20-inch Chinas. You know, it was like my dream rock and roll thing.
Yeah.
But I'd never played Sabians up to that point. And then once I met Frankfurt, I met Wayne Blanchard.
Yeah.
And met Bill and Bobby Booth.
Bobby Booth.
And I mean, instantly it was like, wow, these guys, and we were family, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it was. I mean, I remember sitting at the NAMM convention, you know, Mayhem, and it's me, Bill Zildjian, his wife, and their beautiful daughter when she was little, and we were sitting Indian style in the hallway of the lobby, just shooting the shit while everyone was walking by. And it was like everybody that came by, every person was like, "So we'll see you tonight at the, you know, Saving Part. So we'll see you tonight at DW. So we'll see you tonight at this." And I'm just like, and Bill looked at me and goes, "So what are we gonna do?" And I said, "I think I'm going to Disneyland." You know Pam Gore. You remember Pam Gore?
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
Rhythm Tech?
Yep.
Man,
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
Pam and her freaking they walked by and I said, "Let's do it in Disneyland." And they were just like, "Yeah." And Bill was like, "Go." And so we went, and Disneyland was empty. We rode every ride. And it was Saturday night of May, you know, the big night. And we spent it over there having a gas. I mean, it was just, those guys were so supportive. And the DW guys, same way. First time I went to DW, it was John in that little 1,500 square foot place.
Yeah.
You know, and as he walked in, it smelled like wood, and he was just a madman. And you know, and I remember the next time I went out to DW, they had their own exit on the freeway and a plane and 150,000 square foot shop. And I'm just like, wow. And John said, "You know, you had a lot to do with this." And I was just like, it just blew my mind. And not only that, then, you know, I found out that Eel was rehearsing, so I got to go in and chat with him, which was,
that's pretty great. And you absolutely, you know, before Zildjian, I worked for DW, and I was in that small space in Newbury Park with John and Don, and Chris had just graduated high school, worked there for a little while before I left. But you're right. You absolutely had a lot to do with them moving to that big space. Absolutely.
You know, they just built me a new kit, and I've used it in the last month and a half, did a couple of records already with it and a bunch of one-offs. And I told them, I said, I want my old kit back. I don't want this XY configured, this and that exotic, nothing. I want some tubs, you know? I want those drums that have personality. And when you hit them, you hear the sound come from the whole length of the drum, not just the head, you know? And so they didn't hesitate. Oh, Santa Monica trees, just like the ones used. And so they built me this kit. And man, I mean, it's been a long time since I've been in love with a drum set. This one showed up, and it's just the meatiest. Just, it sounds like my old Ludwig kit. It's just tubby, but you know, it still has that DW. Like, okay, anyone can tune any one of these drums. When we put the kit back together, it's going to be perfect. You know,
that's
just
great.
Amazing.
I love that you're still a drummer. Well, let's play some more music. Should we do that? Should we play a couple more tunes?
Yeah, we'll do that. Sure.
So I was thinking we'd play, when we were talking about, you know, especially verses, a song that you have a writing credit on, Go. And yeah. Well, I was going to say,
when the trip, when I wrote the song, it was a stomp, like a total Zeppelin stomp ripoff. And I was just like in my, you know, sitting against the fireplace, like, you know, having a good time. I just finally detuned my guitar like all the other Seattle guys do. And I was like, wow, this is cool, you know?
Yeah.
And I went into rehearsal one day and Stone had got these new PD stacks. And it was just like, wow. And I remember taking off the standby buttons and it was like, and I was like, whoa. And I picked up his number 3 guitar and just started, and he came down the steps. He's like, wow, what's that? So I showed him. He was ripping on it. And then Mike came in and started messing with, and then Jeff came in and I got behind the kit. And then Eddie walked in and started syllabalizing. He was like, oh, okay, it's going to be a song then. And like, you know, one of those. And then I've heard there's a bunch of little, there's tapes floating around of the rehearsal. And I mean, the flamboyancy of the middle part and all that came about during one take. And that's just the one that ended up on the record. You know, it was just like, you know, so many magic. It was just me reacting to the power that I was hearing in my headphones. And it worked out. Yeah.
Man. That's awesome. I mean, and to have a writing credit on a gigantic selling record, that doesn't suck.
Well, Stone said, hey, so how does it feel that, you know, to be getting a writer's credit? And I was like, I don't want that. I didn't want to say ABBRUZZESE better. I said, no, you know, we're a band. I had an idea. The band took the idea and turned it into this song. I don't see how anybody could take credit for any. I mean, that's what we do. And if you look at the records, the Verses and the Vitology records, I don't know if it's still like this. I don't know if their egos changed when I got booted, but the records all under every song have all of our names because of the point that I made, being that, you know, how can I say I wrote that? I just came up with a cool riff. We turned it into what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then the whole record became everyone's names under every song, which I thought was proper, you know?
Well,
I don't know if it's still that.
Yeah. Like Led Zeppelin, man. Yeah. Collaboration. Yeah. Well, let's play the tune.
Well, no, play the tune. Oh,
all
there's a snare. 13 Black Beauty piccolo with an ambassador head on the bottom and emperor on the top, cranked up to the point of, you know, like hitting it's like playing on a cinder block. That's why that snare.
It screams, though. That snare screams. Yeah. All right. Let's give it a listen. Here we go. Here we go with Go.
And this is setting up the quick drop.
Say that again. Yeah.
I think this is setting up the quick track. I'm playing to the quick.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So they know you're the quick track because the only thing in my headphone is the quick track. So I'm playing just to show them where the quick is.
Oh, man, that's so great. Man. Well, thanks.
Yeah, I remember hearing that one back after dinner and just going, damn.
Oh man. And what a sound. That's a Ludwig Black Beauty, you said.
13-inch piccolo.
Yeah. Screaming. Yeah. What a great sound.
And I was definitely swinging for the fences. I mean, the hi-hat sound came from a 13-inch fusion hat with a stage or a metal top, and then I had rivets put in the bottom, which I'm a huge fan of rivets and hi-hats. I just always had that. And yeah, I was hitting them so hard that they were just, it was just like they're just giving up. All those cymbals were just giving up.
Yeah. Now you could
I remember distinctly like trying to paint images on the cymbals to going so I could get a stereo thing. But then when the mix all came down, it's like, oh, well, it really doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
And I was really proud. That was one of those driving back from Marin County to Seattle with the cassette of the record, because that was something. That's the other thing Brendan's amazing at is when we left, we had our album. Wasn't mastered yet, but we knew we had our record.
Wow.
And yeah, so I'm driving back. I picked up some kids hitchhiking and said, hey, you guys want to hear something pretty cool?
Oh my God. They must have lost their minds. Oh my God.
Yeah. They were on their way to Wavy Gravy's place.
You gave those kids a story, man, for the rest of their lives,
Oh, they gave me one too. Yeah. We're actually still in touch with a couple of them. It's always funny.
That's cool, man. Well, let's play a couple more tracks. And I thought maybe we'd play a few things that are some other things you've done other than Pearl Jam, which again, you hit me to some great stuff. I mean, this is a tune. I was going to play the Steve Salas tune.
Okay. Well, let me tell you a little about this one. We made this record so quickly. I mean, I had gotten fired and I was like, what the, it's completely just, I mean, I didn't know how to deal with any of that. And Stevie got in touch with me and was, Stevie and Bernard Fowler had come out to the Indio Polo Grounds show, the Shula show. And we met afterwards. And then he called me up and said, hey man, I want to make a record. You want to drum on it? Like, well, let's get together. Flew down to LA. He had a bomb shelter set up behind his house that he did jams in. And we were back there and we just jammed. And, he had played with Taylor for a while. So, he introduced me to Taylor on the phone and that was such a treat. And then this was, when Taylor was still, I think he had just started doing the Alanis gig at that point. Mm-hmm. But we ended up making some great music, but we made this record. I mean, there was a point where he came to Seattle and we wrote and recorded so many, 13 songs in 9 days or something, like it just blitzkrieg.
Yeah.
When the record came out, I remember listening to the record and thinking, did I play on that one? There were half the songs I didn't even remember, but they were ferocious and really funky and really natural. It was more the kind of music I was playing before Pearl Jam. It's just funky guitar, bass, and drums, 3-piece. And Melvin Brannon, incredible, from Dan Reed Network on bass. And we just had a really great time, a really intense, we'd sit in the lounge and Stevie had an acoustic and Melvin had an acoustic bass and I was tapping on my legs and be like, yeah, that's a cool idea. And then we'd go in and just blow out a whole song.
Man. Yeah.
And so Stevie said, I want to do, and the way I'm going to do my Stevie impersonation, David, I want to do, and he would drive me absolutely insane. And then I'd get pissed off and he'd be like, hey, it's good for you, David. Which at the time I didn't know, but maybe so, because he got a lot of really great work out of me and I love him, appreciate him to death. But he he said to me, I had been listening to this song, and I was like, man, let's do this one. And he didn't even hesitate. He said, yeah, let's do it. And so it was just bass, drums, and guitar. And it was within 5 minutes of deciding we were going to do it. We went in, and it was just like, and it was on my old Ludwig kit, just a couple of Zone mics, real natural sound, no flamboyant anything, no overdubs, no splicing tape together. It was just, we just played it, and that was that. And man, you know, such a great track and ferocious. And I remember just like being in such a good mood. And there's some things that, you know, there's one fill on there where I just went my kick drum, and it was like, wow. I remember distinctly in Team Army going, I can't believe I pulled that off. It's gonna be great on a record. And that's what some of that stuff was there'd be like something that happened, and I think, oh man, that's gonna be killer on a record, you know. Well, it was making a record with Stevie at that point. I mean, we've made quite a few records together. I co-produced what he calls his art record, you know, the one that got critically acclaimed but didn't sell well. Yeah, I mixed that. But it was incredible, you know. But yeah, so we've done a lot of work together, and this song was just meant as a one-off, kind of a hidden track after the record. And I totally forgot, and I was listening to it, and you know, when I found it, you know, to send you the link, I left it on. I wasn't paying attention, and a few minutes after the song's over, all of a sudden I heard this thing I forgot existed, and it was Melvin recorded it because Steve and I were just bickering so much. And it was me talking about how, man, I play for myself, man. It's, you know, to me, I do what I do and this and that. And Stevie was more about, no, you got to be focused and know what you want. And I'm like, no, it's more, you know, it's like that. And it's just so funny to hear our young voices talking about just the most stupid, mundane, ridiculous shit that was so important for and then with me saying, this is David Abbruzzese winning an argument with Stevie Salas, you know.
No, man, you can look back at.
Really proud of.
You should be so proud of this, man. This is. Hey, if I were you, Dave.
Our guys on it, which is cool, you know.
Yeah. This is such a great track, and I'll tell everybody the name of this song, so everybody knows, is "What Do I Have to Do to Prove My Love to You?" And again, it's David Abbruzzese, I'm going to say, with Stevie Salas, David,
Melvin Brandon.
Yep. And here we go. This is a great track.
My
Man, that is something to hang your hat on. That is so killing. Wow.
Yeah, that was a treat. That was a treat. And also, when that was happening, Joe Gaspard had got me on a motorcycle. So it was like right after boom, and it was over. I went and got on the bike because I had to put a few hundred miles on it before I changed the braking oil because he was on his way up to go on a ride. So there's so much going on. But that track, man, it was so much fun. To me, it was like going back to my roots of like technically overplaying, but feeling and having so much fun that it just works.
You could tell somebody that was James Brown with Clyde and Jabo playing drums, and I don't think they disagree. I mean, that was like some serious, authentic.
They might say that drummer lost the. I kind of lost the one. I went a little haywire on that kick drum, but
no,
somebody
great,
had
man.
to do it.
Well, there's another tune I want to play too.
Thanks,
this tune that you mentioned, Bernard Fowler, and again, you hit me to this great tune, Pop That Thing, and again,
man, this record is so good, the whole record, and Stevie introduced me to Bernard, and we became family instantly, and that was a track that we did for a record Stevie and Bernard had made for, called Nickel Bag. It was 12 hits and a bump, and the song we did together was The Bump, I guess. But I had a cold, but I said, who is it? And he said, it's Bernard. And I said, I really want to meet Bernard. And then he said, Daryl Jones will be playing bass. And I was like, okay, I'm in.
Oh my God.
So I got to go play. But on this track, it's actually the great Carmine Rojas playing bass.
Yeah, man.
And it was one of those sessions where I came into LA, and the late, great Jeff Sessler, man, he would meet me at the airport. And the first thing he'd say is, you got your sticks? Yeah. Where are we going? He said, let's go. We'd go straight to a studio. And I'd walk in and I mean, it was Waddy Wachtel. It was Carmine Rojas, Bowie's guitar player, all these cats that were just like, what? And, and just music would happen. And in this track, Bernard was out with the Stones, and he just said, hey man, why don't you take these tapes and just go, just produce them, take them where you want to take them. I was like, oh, okay. So with this song, I got to go in and, Waddy Wachtel came in and we did a lot of stuff together, which, I mean, Waddy,
yeah,
what can you say?
He
just, and, but the night we laid it down, it was Reeves Gabriel on guitar from Bowie's band.
Sure, yeah.
And Carmine Rojas, first time Carmine and I met. And I didn't even know it was the Carmine Rojas, from played Let's Dance, the bass player on China Girl, all this amazing stuff. I didn't even know. I just thought he was this cool guy, like all these guys. I didn't know who or what. There was no pretentious, nothing. They were just these cats with their instruments, and we were playing. And I'm playing on this beat up old funky kit with 57s on it, no big Neumanns or anything. And we're in this one room behind the Mint studio on Pico. And Daniel and I had a little room back there, and we set up, and Bernard said, let's, and it just started. That guitar player, Jeff Fielder, was there, it just started, and this and that, and then boom, and we kicked into it. And then there was this point where I looked up, and Carmine was leaning over my kit, and we hit this one section together that was like pop, and we just locked for a second. He looked at me, and I looked at him, and it was like, okay, now this shit's gonna get real. And the track just happened, and there was a lot. I take a lot of pride in the track because it was just, to me, Bernard Fowler is a living legend, and he's family, and he's, to have toured with them and played music, just like with Neil and with Eddie, where their eyes lock and things on, and there's that magical moment where you go, wow, this is happening.
Yeah.
To create that moment for Bernard and have him look at me like, thanks, man. It's like, I could sleep at night knowing that I gave something of myself to Bernard that he needed and wanted at that moment. And this song represents that to me, you know. There's a lot of fun. A whole lot of fun.
Well said, man.
Yeah.
Well said. Another great track that you can just hang your hat on, you know. Here it comes.
Man.
Pop that thing.
All right. Pop that thing. Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Get on down. Now do your stuff. Come on. Pop that thing. Bang, bang, bang. Pop that thing. Bang, bang, bang. If you can't do it right, don't you try it again. Look at that rooster running after that hit.
And that's, I remember now, that's also Danny Saber mixed it. He's also playing guitar. And I wrote the horn part.
No kidding,
Which
man.
blew my mind. Yeah, I sat down, I wrote it out in my chicken hawk writing, and these amazing players, they played it, and I heard it back, and I was like, wow. And originally I had a couple other people that were doing some work on it. That the version that we did was a little more old school, and I think it just didn't really work on Bernard's record as much. And Danny came in and did some cooler, I think much cooler approaches, made it more of a guitar thing than a horn and bass and drums thing. And it worked really well on Bernard's record. But yeah, the fact, like sitting in the control room and hearing these great LA players playing these horn lines, and, you know, when I gave it to him, I was like, this is what I'm hearing. And then when they played it, they were like, that's the shit. And I was just like, oh, wow, man, this is all right. I think I kind of like this producer shit.
Yeah, it's good to be the
But
king.
still, man, I'll tell you right now, man, playing a tambourine for that long will fuck you up.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. But I gotta say,
People don't
man,
understand.
yeah.
Tambourine and shakers are a bitch.
What you played on that song, Dave, the drum part, it's like you sound like a session guy, like a seasoned Jim Keltner level guy that like,
Man,
do you know what I mean? Like it's so clean, it's so perfect, the feel is incredible.
it's I just looked at it like, I knew we'd already established what we established, and I knew that if we were going to keep going, there were going to have to be some things that made it worth staying around for.
Yeah.
So changing up and adding little things, and that's when when Bernard or when Carmine and I looked at each other, and he gave me that look like, I see where you're going, young man. And I looked at him like, wow, it's really cool. You're black. And this is working. To me, still, all the best music I ever made were with my brothers that were, that came from a different place, that came from different music than I did. And like the only macadamia nut in the brownie musically, all of my heroes were the guys that were, that were they were a different color. They were brown, or they were black, or they were yellow, or they were red, whatever it was. They offered something that I understood, and it was, the biggest thing was the guys in the same boat, Gene Krupa and Ed Shaughnessy and Buddy Rich, and these guys that talked about the flavor, of playing with black musicians, playing with, with soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was something, Daryl Phillips, bass player I grew up playing with, the bass player in Dr. Tongue, it was just this thing where he was an incredibly gifted and studied player, just like so many of the guys in Dallas were. And me playing from my heart, it just became something that the dynamic of, I guess, them knowing what they were doing and me doing just what I felt was right, the dynamic of those two worlds clashing created something that almost validated their knowledge of music and allowed them to play soulfully more so than it would have if I knew what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
As well as the opposite happened, which is I was challenged by guys that Jerry Rizzi and these people that were incredibly talented, gifted, and studied. Allowing me to take their music somewhere where technically maybe it didn't belong going, because I didn't know, that technical side of things. So I just played what I felt should be there. And, and so my musical language came more from a language that was just my own, and it's just so much fun. So.
And that was, that's kind of, I think, what makes it special is it just, you know what I mean? It fit. It wasn't, you didn't have to force something,
No.
It's just a natural thing.
And also the cool thing was when it didn't work, you could tell right away, because all of a sudden it was like, this look would happen.
Yeah.
It's like, why are we trying? It's like music, to me, music shouldn't be so challenging,
Yeah.
The music I like anyway, there's other music that is based on, a cerebral approach and time signatures and wowing the mathematical listener, but I've never been one of those guys. That's why I love Neil's approach so much. To me, Neil was, his technical aspects didn't come from his playing. It came from his precision, the placement of what he did. And to me, and then later when Neil said that he was affected by the Seattle drummers,
Yeah.
And then I heard the record where it was like, holy shit. It's the first time I'd ever listened to Neil play, and he would do something. The next thing he did was what I expected to be done. And it never happened to me. His music, the way he played, never hit me that way before. It was always a surprise that then I had to kind of understand or accept. But then they did those couple of records towards the end of the Rush stuff, where I guess he disappeared and worked with Freddie Gruber for a while and all that, and kind of reinvented his playing. And then I heard him playing kick drum, snare, and hi-hat patterns. That was just like, wow, I understand this, you know? And then when I read that like, you know, he was really digging my playing and Matt's playing, and it was just, you know, what was the quote? He said that he was worried about the state of drumming, and then the 90s came around with drummers like me and Matt, and now he could sleep again at night, you know? And it was just like, wow.
What an unbelievable.
Then when I heard those records,
compliment. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You know, what a gem, you know, what a gem. I miss him.
Yeah.
Miss him a lot.
A very, very deep guy. Yeah. No doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I know we've burned all the batteries out of all your devices. So as we wind it down, I thought we'd play a little something that you wrote and your own band. And we'd play a track.
I'll tell you about this.
Yeah. So this
Green
is
Romance Orchestra.
Yeah.
Green Romance Orchestra. It was something that, you know, for all intents and purposes, saved my life in the sense of what my life was to me at the time. After getting fired from the band, I really didn't know, you know, a lot of people didn't understand, you know, it's like so many great things came my way, that, you know, whether they were monetary, like the Guns N' Roses thing, or just exceptional, like Abe Laboriel Sr. inviting me to go and take the seat that's usually Steve Gadd's seat, their little European tours. And he called me up, and he's, you know, I think it was at the urging of Abe Jr. And he invited me to go to Europe and do a improv trio thing. And I was just like, but I was so shook to my core from getting fired and not really understanding, you know, and at the time, you know, it wasn't that I got fired from a band. It was that I looked around and it was like, I'm in a strange city, and everybody that I cared about is now having a hard time relating to me because they are still working for the band, you know?
Yeah.
So I called up Dave Castell, again, Dave from the Course of Empire days and all that. And I said, you know, I want to come down and get together with Daryl Phillips and Doug Neal, the people from Dr. Tongue and people that I always greatly admired, and just go in the studio and just whatever, you know. And at this point, you know, I had a semi truck worth of gear. So we descended on Dave's studio, and it just so happened, I said, Dave, do you know a singer? And he was just happening to work with Paul Slavens, who was the keyboard player, guitar player, vocalist, leader of the band 10 Hands, which was Matt's band before Edie. And that was the band that Earl Harvin and Mike Dillon and all of them I'd watch from the back window. You know, they were the peers. You know, they were they were the ones in Dallas that were like, you know, nobody could touch them. Entertaining as hell, incredible musicians. And so I was like, sure. I'd never really even met Paul, but we got down there, and in 3 days, I mean, it was monumental. The music we were making was just like, wow, it was so easy. And everyone was so casual and just ferocious on their instruments, so well, played so well and played so well together. So I just said, well, why don't we do this for 6 weeks? See what. So then I brought my, you know, all my manly gear and tube gear and mics, and shit got real, 50 guitars and a bunch of drums, you know. All of a sudden it got really big. Yeah. And Gary Muller on the Chapman stick took over, and we ended up 6 weeks went by so fast, and it was like, man, we got enough stuff to make a record. And we were just going in and just any idea of seeing it through a different drum setup, every song different. We were just challenging ourselves to just whatever and having a great time. And so at the end of that, it was like, why don't we make a real record? So I found a ranch, like 7,000 square foot rambler on hundreds of acres in the middle of nowhere in Denton. And I asked these guys what it would take monetarily for them to give up a year of their life and just basically dedicate it to getting together every day and just having fun, playing music.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, the studio was over the top, one of the most well-equipped studios that I'd ever worked in. It was mine. And we took over this house, and I mean, anytime anyone picked up an instrument, there was 24-track tape rolling, and we recorded thousands of hours of music and came up with a couple of records. But it was just, as Paul put it, I was getting rid of some soul poisoning. And this particular song, I had this 1967 Electric 12, incredible guitar. And I decided to change the strings. So I changed the strings, and as soon as it was in tune, I just started playing this weird drummer on a guitar thing. And it was like, oh. And then all of a sudden my fingers went over here. I don't know what they're doing, but wow, this sounds cool. And then they went here, and it's like, hey, that sounds cool too. And I looked over, and we were sitting in the lounge. I looked over at Dave, our engineer, and I said, and he darted out of the room, came back with a guitar lead, plugged it into the guitar, and nodded at me. And I just stopped, and click track started, click, 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 and it just started over. And I recorded the entire guitar part in one pass. And then we recorded another guitar part, Gary's stick part, some other things. And Paul had went in and grabbed the notepad off of my bedstand and found this page. And he said, you got a mic for me? I said, sure. And he went in and sang the lyric. Maybe, I think he did 2 passes, and I blended them together. And then I recorded the drums, and that's the track.
Man.
I mean, that's how the record was made. So that's how it came together. The guitar part was recorded first, all in one take, just out of the blue. And then Paul is such an incredibly gifted singer, and I mean, just the whole thing, it was an idea that popped out one night, and the next day all the other stuff was put on it. And then I recorded the drums, and there it was.
Man.
And of course the lyric, the page that Paul chose was an open letter that I was writing because I was trying to purge myself. Every time I find myself thinking about the guys and my emotions, I would write shit down. So it's kind of an open letter to Pearl Jam in a weird sort of, I hate to admit it, sort of way. And then the end of the track where the drums take over was a lot longer. And yes, there were pictures of each one of the guys in Pearl Jam on my toms when I played the parts. So.
Well, like you said, it was like a cleansing, purging.
Yeah.
Kind of
the whole experience.
Yeah.
Soul poisoning.
Soul poisoning. Yeah.
But,
yep.
Came out with a beautiful song.
Why didn't you just talk to me then? Did you think my blood on your hands was a lesser sin? It must be
man, those were some. I mean, what an incredible song. And those were some killer fills at the end there, Dave. Killer fills. Just
it went on for a while longer, but we decided to edit it down a little bit.
Yeah, no, I could. You could have definitely kept going and just through the code and just kept playing those. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you know what, John? Now I don't know if you can pull it up, but there's one other song that I think would be great to end this on.
Yeah,
because it really, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to give you an exclusive.
Okay. Yeah, I love it.
I got in some legal trouble due to being in a situation in my life where basically it was the culmination of walking backwards through my life, trying to protect all the things that I'd done in my past. And I was looking over my shoulder at my future, which, as you well know, you've lived a life, there's no way to go through it.
Yeah.
And there were all these little reminders that I needed to turn around, and stop trying to protect my past and understand and all these things. But I wasn't equipped psychologically because, having achieved success and money and all these different things didn't necessarily equate to maturity. As far as emotionally, I was still the same kid that retreated into a drum kit to find myself. And that's really no way to do it. I mean, it served its purpose, but the real world existed outside of the drum kit. And so when the real world crashed down, getting fired, getting into a marriage that wasn't right, all these reality things. And the birth of my daughter, which was the most incredible thing ever. All these things, I wasn't prepared for any of that. It was like all of a sudden I was in this big world and I was still this 13-year-old kid that was just wanting to put on headphones and get lost in music. So, for lack of a better way of explaining it, the universe saw fit to crack me in the top of the head in the form of getting me arrested and me spending time in jail and going through some shit like that. And during that process, and this is the first time I've talked about it, this has been kind of an underground secret. During that process, there was a judge that said, Mr. ABBRUZZESE, it's about time you find out how the real world works. She really had a bug in her ass about the fact that I had an 8th grade education, but had made a success out of my life. Mm-hmm. And that didn't sit well with her. So this judge decided that I was going to spend basically the rest of my natural life in prison.
Jesus.
Yeah, for what amounted to a first offense drug charge. Never been in any trouble in my whole life. I was leaving town to reevaluate my marriage and my life, and I surprisingly got pulled over, and even more surprisingly, there were drugs in my vehicle that I didn't know about. And so this started this chain of events that led me into a position where I was in jail and the judge refused to give me bail and was planning on giving me a couple dozen years in prison for this first offense, right? So there were a couple people that were helping me, lawyers and such. And the short of it is they said, hey, you should leave. Because they got me out of jail behind this judge's back. Mm. And they said, when she sees you in street clothes, you think she's going to hammer you now. She's really going to hammer you. So I had to make the decision to leave. And I did. Mm. And I left the States. And 2 weeks ago, all of that got cleared up. 2 weeks ago,
wow!
I was told I'm now free. I have no charges. This is after 12 years of being under a rock. That's why I haven't toured. That's why I haven't, and
yeah, man.
So 2 weeks ago, it all got lifted. All the charges are gone. There's no more charges on my record. I got my life back. I'm in the process now of regaining control of everything and passport, all those things, so I can then go back to being who I am, playing music freely, touring, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm very excited. I mean, this just happened.
Man. I'm so happy for you, Dave.
Yeah, man.
Wow,
So,
man.
you know, I don't advise it for anyone, but the last 12 years of my life have been such. I mean, there was a moment where I got on a plane and left everything. The awards, the accolades, my drums, my instruments, everything.
Yeah.
Just said goodbye to it all. Basically left the doors up on my storage place, grabbed a backpack and a guitar, and split. So, so I was forced to turn around and stop protecting my past and go headlong into my future. And in the last 12 years, I've been able to see life in a whole new light and appreciate it so much more and grow up and really appreciate the aspects of life that feed music. So I'm looking forward to this next phase, and it's going to be a big one. There's going to be a lot of music involved because finally, again, I'm free to do that. And in a big sense, I'm free to do it with a maturity and an outlook and an approach that is healthy and happy. So yay for me.
Yay for you, brother. I'm so happy.
So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing
it's
this.
The best thing ever. You know, I thought about it and I thought, you know, what better place to put it out there than to you and to the other drummers that are paying attention to this, because
thank you.
It's you and the music and the attitudes and the shared experiences that we all have, and the space that I finally found myself in, where I was able to sit and take these things in and realize what's important and what matters. And it's not that I didn't know before, it's just that now I was able to actually really understand why it mattered, not just that it did. So with that, you know, this you know, a lot of things happened while I was out of pocket and I wasn't able to experience, you know, losing my father and my daughter's, you know, graduating high school and college and all these things.
Yeah.
But in the process of that, you know, on my birthday, we lost Chris Cornell. And, you know, I had made a record with his older brother, Peter. That's one of my favorite records that I've ever been a part of. It was, you know, cathartic. It was just perfect. And it was the two of us that made the record. And it's one of the most important records that I was a part of because of what he was going through, what he said, and how we came about it. And it was right before I left. But then when I got over, you know, to where I'm at, I got a message from these guys, you know, when Chris left us, I got a message from these guys from India. And it was an email, and they basically said they wanted to do a tribute to Chris. And I thought, I don't know, you know, it's like, how do you do a tribute to someone who's so incredible? But the passion in their words allowed, you know, me to accept the open door, and they sent me the music, and it just blew me away. And if you could call up and play, it's Zootopia, PSEU Topia, and the song is Seasons. And basically, you know, it was everything that, to me, that music encapsulates in my life, and I think for a lot of other people, the power of these guys wanting to do a tribute to someone that meant so much to them for same reasons and different ones that, you know, what he meant to me. But it's just such a powerful and moving tribute to Chris. And it was what got me back into, you know, it was like their invite. And I was like, yeah, I've got to do it, you know. And I actually recorded, I recorded the track on the only drum set I could find, which was Ludwig Ascend, like a $300 beginner Ludwig kit. Jeff Woods sent me a 12x7 mahogany snare out of the kindness of his heart, just, it started our relationship. And so this track, and then the video of the track, which is what you'll find on YouTube, it's me playing on a DW kit. That is what came about from me re-entering the world of, playing music. Basically when I showed up, I was pretty brokenhearted. And I didn't really know how music was going to fit into anything because I didn't expect to ever be able to come back. And then after this session, after this song, after showing it to Matt Cameron and showing it to Peter and getting their blessing on what we accomplished with it, because the original song is just an acoustic guitar and Chris, and we turned it into something different. And it really validated, and I hadn't played in a while. And it was just like, all of a sudden it was like, wow, this is what I do and who I am.
Yeah.
And so that opened the door to so many other projects. And there's so much music that I've been able to be a part of in the last 10 years that we haven't touched on that I'm really proud of, including the stuff that I've done here just in the last few weeks. But this one, I think, is something that if you haven't heard it, you'll get a kick out of it. And I think it's just something that's important,
That's great. Yeah. Well, let's play it right now. Seasons.
Cool. Yeah.
Here it comes. Thank you for the great setup too, for the great story.
Hey, man. I'm back, baby.
You are back. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Summer nights are long, warm days, as stolen as the old moon falls, and the mirror shows another face, another place to hide it all, another place to hide it all. And I'm lost behind the words I'll never find, and I'm left behind as seasons roll on by, sleeping with a full moon blanket, sand and feathers for my head, and I'm lost behind the words I'll never find, and I'm left behind as seasons roll on by. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dave, thank you for suggesting that. And yeah, man, what an incredibly powerful
Yeah. Yeah, man.
song.
I went on to do quite a few songs with the E270 guys that I'm really proud of, that, you know, incredible guys, and the fact that, you know, I imagine we're going to be able to play some live shows now and stuff too, which would be nice. I'm really, really, really excited about getting out and playing again, and playing live, and doing clinics and yada yada yada. I mean, it's just,
Yeah, man, me too. We all are. I think everybody watching this right now is like a collective, you know, jumping up in the air. All right, you know, that's
well,
awesome.
you know, I kept it pretty much under wraps, that, you know, where my life was at and where I was at and what was going on. And there are a select few people that knew that, you know, were really important and instrumental in keeping my spirits up. But the best thing that's happened over the last 10 years is my relationship with music has become so much more powerful and important. And I mean, there's so much music that, I mean, we could go on for days. There's so many pieces of music that I've recorded that I'm really proud of. But yeah, what's to come is the best is yet to come. So
It sounds like it, and you can bet I'm gonna be getting you back on here.
oh man,
Yeah.
anytime. I you know, I appreciate what you do and how you do it, and to be a part of one of your shows is, you know, an exceptional honor in the world. So
The honor is mine, Dave. Thank you, brother. Thank you for saying that, and thank you for all the years of just being there and being so positive and supportive. And, you know, so many people watching have so many great comments, and you're so loved, man. You really are so loved by everybody.
it means the world to me, and it's like, especially now, you know, we do, and you do a great job of managing to keep our political and the world's diabolical state out of these discussions. But right now, our shoulder to shoulder lives being shoulder to shoulder are so important, and because we're facing some serious things, and whatever we can or can't do about them, the only way we can not feel helpless is if we stay shoulder to shoulder. So
agreed. Amen, brother. Yeah. Yep. I agree. Yep.
All right.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you so much for being here and for throwing in some really cool surprises that I wasn't expecting. No one was expecting. So
don't get them.
Yeah. And this show is going to end up being at least 2 episodes, maybe even 3, because we've gone quite a while here. So thank you for that.
I like to deliver, man. I just do.
You do. All right. Well, hang with me for 1 second. We'll say goodbye in the room. But everybody, a gigantic hand for the great, wonderful, beautiful, legendary David ABBRUZZESE. Man.
Thank you. And everyone, I don't know who tuned in and who listened, but whoever's there, I appreciate you. You know I did. So.
We know you do. We know you do. All right. Hang on 1 second, buddy, and we'll say goodbye.
I will,
all right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you soon. Big hand for Dave.
Thank you.
All right. That's my show. If you enjoyed it, give it a like, leave me a comment, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also download the episodes on all podcast platforms. And please visit my website, livefrommydrumroom.com, for upcoming shows. And remember, no drummers are harmed on any show. And drummers, when in doubt, leave it out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you again real soon.